Hey, it's me again, GamerTommy2007. If you've spent any amount of time in the last decade playing video games, you've probably played a game with some form of procedural generation. From procedurally generated enemies to procedurally generated galaxies, the range of things you can generate procedurally is basically limitless. One pretty small example I think of first happens to be Minecraft. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a little popular. In Minecraft, the worlds are created with procedurally generated blocks, and they're infinite. Roguelike games are another example of procedural generation, but instead of generating worlds, they generate levels. And these levels make each run of the game unique. Some examples of that would be games like The Binding of Isaac or Spelunky. On a completely different scale, there's No Man's Sky. Known for being almost entirely procedural, including planets, caves, spaceships, tools, upgrades, missions, characters, and music somehow, No Man's Sky is really impressive technically and has a lot of different things that are procedural. I could go on listing other examples of how video games use procedural generation and what games use them, and I think eventually I would stumble upon Deep Rock Galactic. Currently sitting at the third highest reviewed game of 2020 on Steam, Deep Rock Galactic puts you in the shoes of a dwarf working for Deep Rock Galactic, a space mining company that throws you and other dwarves into a planet with dark, sprawling caverns and hordes of bugs. Imagine the exploration of caves in Minecraft mixed with the horde shooting of Left 4 Dead. Deep Rock Galactic is a pretty fantastic game in so many ways, and one of those ways is the procedural level generation. So I wanted to dig into the caves of Deep Rock Galactic and what makes them so great. In spring of 2016, the first prototype of Deep Rock Galactic was created and gameplay was recorded. Things have definitely changed in the past couple years. In this prototype, the terrain is pretty similar to Minecraft, but it looks a little crusty and kind of yucky.
So one of the things that, the core concept for Deep Rock Galactic is a fairly simple one. Jonas, our lead programmer, he came up with this idea that what if you were playing and exploring caves in Minecraft and you had big guns?
So the team at Ghost Ship Games set out to rework how terrain generated and divert from the blocky Minecraft-style caves. Robert, the lead artist at Ghost Ship Games, and also the voice of Mission Control, created a mock-up level of what they wanted the caves to look like. So what's on screen right now is not procedural terrain, it's just a mock-up. Comparing the footage of the modeled cave to the terrain in the current version of DRG, it's pretty apparent that they have exceeded their expectations for terrain generation.
We thought that if we are ever gonna make something that looks like this, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, so we thought this was like beyond what we could reach.
Actually we did.
This is due to the CTO at Ghost Ship Games creating a way to use meshes in Unreal to build caves. This allows any biome to be applied to the terrain almost like a skin is applied to the level. They also added a way to import 3D models into the game as destructible terrain. You can see that with this golden dwarf boy here. An important part of how levels generate is complexity and length. All missions in Deep Rock Galactic have complexity and length ratings. These ratings are on a scale from 1 to 3. Complexity has a lot to do with how things generate. The more complex a level is, the larger and more odd the cave shapes will get. Length is pretty obvious, this is how long the cave is. Whoa, why'd the video pause? Who knows? I'm just gonna talk about something that I forgot to put in the video originally, and yeah, this is when I'm editing, so here it is. The procedural tech definitely uses rooms that the developers have actually made, like handmade. I'll put some footage up of 2 levels that look like almost identical, and I found more rooms like this in the time I've been playing the game. Basically, some rooms are handcrafted, and I think some are random, and then they're put together to make the level. So that's the gist of it. I'm gonna go now. Bye-bye. I would split the cave types into 3 different groups: linear, non-linear, and point extraction. Mining expeditions have a linear path with a start and a finish. This path is made up of rooms and tunnels. Rooms being the giant rooms that you find a lot of the minerals and enemies in. Along with the minerals and enemies, you'll also find dirt exits which will lead you to tunnels. Tunnels all look pretty similar. They're long winding paths that lead you to the next room, and they can vary a little bit in size and shape. Complexity is an important thing to take note of when starting a mining expedition. The scale of the rooms in Complexity 3 mining expeditions can get absolutely massive, so if you want to spend a long time exploring some really big caves, this is for you. Salvage operations put you in a cave that has been previously explored by a team of dwarves. These dwarves have failed their objectives, so you have to come in and repair and extract mini mules as well as a drop pod. Similar to mining expedition, you'll begin in a starting room with one dirt exit. This exit will lead you through a tunnel into the drop pod room. This is the main room you'll spend most of the time in. It's usually quite large and has a lot more enemies than most mining expedition rooms. This room will have exits and tunnels in it, but they loop back around into the room. The first of the non-linear mission types is Egg Hunt. Your goal is to collect 4 to 8 eggs scattered around the level. When you first land into an egg hunt, you'll find yourself in a room with multiple dirt paths. This is how non-linear caves are structured. Each dirt path will lead you to another tunnel or room. In high complexity egg hunts, you will be attacked by a large horde of bugs right at the beginning of the mission once you step out of the drop pod. This is due to how the level is generating. One last thing, compressed gold seems to be more common on egg hunts, especially when things get more complex. Elimination missions are the second and final non-linear cave type. You and your team are sent in to exterminate a nest of cocoons hosting glyphid dreadnoughts, which are giant boss enemies that are scary and bad. Elimination missions seem to be more spread out than egg missions, making them less messy and they don't collide with each other as much. But they do generate pretty similar. The starting room in Elimination still has the 4 dirt exits, but it is filled with significantly more nitra and just a little bit of gold. Another large difference would be the ramp-like tunnel that generates in the floor of the starting room. This tunnel usually leads pretty far down into the cave, and it is common for one of the cocoons to be at the end of that tunnel. From my experience, gold doesn't spawn nearly as much on Elimination. I don't really have much evidence to back this up other than the 181 eliminations I have completed. And finally, we have point extraction, which are pretty unique. You no longer have Molly to follow you around and deposit minerals in. Instead, you're given a large mine head that drops right at the start of the mission. The mine head has turrets and lights to help you with the objective. Your team will have to explore this cave to collect a quark. A quark is a large blue mineral that is buried in the walls of the cave. Similar to high complexity egg hunts, point extraction also has a lot of bugs that attack you at the beginning. The level generation is pretty different. You're given one large room with some pretty small tunnels that branch off into pretty small rooms. These rooms can be very well hidden, and so can the tunnels to them. I've dubbed them clown tunnels, because I don't like clowns, I don't know. Yeah, you could say this mission type is non-linear, but I feel like it's different enough from the other non-linear objectives to classify them as something different. Since you spend most of your time in one large room during a point extraction, they start to feel pretty familiar after you do a decent amount of them. Point extraction is one of my favorite mission types just due to how unique it is. Alright, that's all the mission types. Now we're going to move on to biomes. I'm going to keep this section more brief. I'd love to go into detail about all the biomes in the game and how much I like them, but I'm probably going to make a video on the biomes later this year. Biomes can change a lot of features of a level in a significant way. Comparing the rooms in sandblasted corridors to the rooms in fungus bogs, you start to see the differences in how the caves generate. The tunnels also change in a pretty significant way too. Here's a comparison image of some tunnels in different biomes. Along with this, there's a lot of variety added on. There's different cave shapes, fungi, plants, minerals, enemies, passive creatures, and there's probably more that I'm not thinking of right now. The last thing I'd like to talk about are the rare minerals in the game. In any mission type or biome, there's a chance that you can find these. First, the most common one with a 1/3 chance of spawning is compressed gold. It spawns similar to Jadis or a quark, but it's golden, and you find it with little specks of gold in the wall. Once you mine it out, you can ping the compressed gold to do the funny bit, and then you can deposit it to receive anywhere from 150 to 250 gold. The next rare mineral is a lot more rare, at a 1 in 21 chance of spawning, also spawns like jade is in a quark, and it's called bitter gem. Once you extract from the cave, you will receive 1,000 to 1,500 credits on completion. And finally, we have the error cube. An error cube has a 1 in 26 chance to spawn. Error cubes are marked by white spikes blinking a pink color in the wall. You will receive 2,000 XP for collecting the error cube, and after you have collected enough of them, you can unlock. To wrap up my thoughts, Deep Rock Galactic is fantastic. There are a lot of pillars of this game that keep everything together, but I would say the pillar that is most important is the procedural levels. It's extremely difficult to make a procedural experience engaging after doing it a lot. New challenges start to feel less common as time goes on when you play a procedurally generated game, but I've yet to feel like I've actually seen everything Deep Rock Galactic has to offer. I've played almost 1,000 hours of this and I still enjoy exploring what's already in the game, and they're planning on adding 2 more mission types and biomes by the end of this year. So to everyone at Ghost Ship Games, thank you for creating something that is not only great, but also doing open development and early access right. I can't wait to see what's next for the game and the studio. Rockin' Stone. Oh, and one more thing. If you could make one of the 2 new mission types about running an underground Burger King, I would love that. I really want to run an underground Burger King. I want to manage it. I want to profit off of those bugs.